eat market movements, and that's the reason the volatility is lowest in Bitcoin compared to almost any other currency. Any other currency in crypto, except for ones that are made to never move. Like there's some currencies that are made to just equal the dollar, and so they're not exactly. So a tether, you ain't going to get rich on it because it's meant to always have the same amount, but it looks like it's going up when there's a downturn because it stays flat, right? So, the reason that we have reduced volatility in Bitcoin is because we have a larger financial mass and thick order books all over the world and a good arbitraging network that equalizes those order books. When you look at altcoins, let's say I make an altcoin that has a million units and I sell 1 unit from $1, some idiot's going to say that the market cap of that currency is $1 million. That's obviously wrong, right? So market caps are a very incorrect, very stupid way to measure the economic energy of a cryptocurrency, and a very stupid way to compare cryptocurrencies. And I would like to see it improved, but I got to build my own token before I do all these other fancy things and whatever.
I was gonna get into that, but I absolutely agree with you that a market cap it changes every second, so that is a tough way to measure. But the reason why everybody cares about the JP Morgan thing, especially me, is because I've lived here a long time. I've seen how, like, for example, when we want to go to a war with a country, how the talk starts to happen, how where it starts, how the media starts reacting, and then how it builds up, and I fear this is the start of the United States regulators slash corporate entity slash central bank slash establishment with their war against Bitcoin.
Well, it's not the case. So it's basically, it's like confirmation bias, but it's also another word that means recent. So I don't want to say recency bias, but something similar to that. I think it might be called proximity bias. Anyway, the point is, no, there's not a mono block of business people in the United States that wants the same thing. Most business people want lower interest rates because they make more money. If interest rates go up and people would make more money leaving their money in the bank instead of putting it in corporate shares, it makes the share prices go down. So in general, business owners prefer lower interest rates. They're also the people most likely to take loans to expand their businesses, and having lower interest rates makes those loans cheaper. So low interest rates are the reason that we have totally insane all-time highs in every single financial market with not very impressive actual performance and actual production. So we've got really high prices with no real production to justify those prices, but it's the result of having zero and negative interest rates. So that's one thing a lot of business people could agree on. However, war is not something business people agree on, and even taxes isn't. I mean, some portion of socially conscious people like Warren Buffett would be happy to pay more tax, and do. They pay more tax than they need to. Warren Buffett pays personal income tax, and he would never need to do that. He could just get loans forever, and you don't pay income tax on loans. So he doesn't actually have to pay any tax at all, but he chooses to. And even the tax rate he pays, he says, is far too low. Why is it fair that people that don't have to work for a living, the capital class, pay 15% interest on their money, but if you bust your ass and work really, really, really hard, you pay 35% interest? Is that fair? Does that make any sense? It's complete and total bullshit, but it's the world that we live in. And oddly enough, that standard of capital gains tax being half of income tax is all over the world. It's not just America that's crazy. And so the rich get richer and the poor get poorer because the rich that don't even have to work pay half the tax. It's pure insanity. So back to the corporate thing. Corporations don't want to see Bitcoin banned for the most part because more people benefit from it than lose from it. Some small section of corporations would lose, and those companies would be banks in the short and midterm until they started holding Bitcoin like they hold cash today. Payment service providers like PayPal and Western Union until they started transacting in it like they do cash today, right? So short and midterm, those companies may have reasons to not like it, but long term, they would have reasons to like it. And even PayPal, depending on who the CEO is, might choose to use integrating Bitcoin as a competitive advantage, because what do they care? They're just making fees anyway. So do they care whether you transact in Bitcoin and they make a fee, or you transact in credit cards and you make a fee? It's no sweat off their ass, right? And they do provide a lot of services, which are still 100% useful for Bitcoin, like escrow and like this guy screwed me and give me my money back. So like PayPal on top of Bitcoin is actually a really good idea, because Bitcoin needs a hey, this guy screwed me, give me my money back mechanism that you have the option to pay for with a fee. And so I would love to see PayPal integrate Bitcoin the same way they've integrated other payment methods, because Bitcoin users would benefit greatly from being able to complain and roll back a transaction with people that screwed them.
I don't know if PayPal would be the right people for that. I've sold. I've done a lot of business on eBay and PayPal. I sold a lot. I own a mining farm, and I sold my miners on there, and they're not very seller friendly. They're not the fairest, but I agree with you.
They're great for buyers, though.
yeah, they're great for buyers. But I do agree with
most
you.
People are buyers. They're like 100x, at least 10x.
Yeah, I would stick with 100x. They're a lot more. But I think that's the popularity. That's what people love about Bitcoin. Or maybe smart contracts can protect.
Nope.
No.
Smart contracts are useless. They're terrible. Yeah, because right. Let's say you need a smart contract to protect you. Hey, I got screwed. How can the smart contract tell if you really got screwed or not? It's going to ask a human, and then you have to trust the human. And you have to trust the human anyway. You can skip the stupid abstraction of the smart contract and just trust the human. And you can use Excel or Oracle or MySQL or Postgres. Like, there's no reason to ever use a blockchain or ever use a program, which is all a smart contract is. It's just a program. It's just a stupid word for a program that has external inputs. I guess you could write some that don't have them. Some people think multisig is one, whatever. The point is, if you ever need to touch a trusted person for data, then it is entirely a stupid waste of time to use a blockchain or a contract built on a blockchain, because you have to trust the guy that says whether you got screwed or not anyway.
Yeah, somebody's got to make a human decision.
Yeah. So once you go to the human, just stick with the human and save money. Like, there's no reason to pay a blockchain that goes up and down and fees, and like, it's just dumb. That's why blockchain's like only successful use case is currency, because it never has to leave the digital world. It stays digital and it stays itself, and it never has to worry about an oracle. So it's always good. Now, smart contracts could be useful for trading one currency with another, like an atomic cross swap, or things that stay purely digital. But a stock price isn't purely digital. Sometimes it has to get rolled back. Sometimes they issued the wrong stock price. A house title isn't purely digital. Sometimes a flood makes the house go away, and now there's no house, and the blockchain can't tell. So,
yeah, I want to see blockchain get into government spending, and more than I want to see go into like car registrations and I want to see it on voting machines. I want to see it on that type of stuff that
you're actually not going to want to see it on voting machines.
Really?
Yeah, because you'll be able to sell your vote, and then you break democracy. As soon as you have a receipt for your vote, people will buy it from you, and then your democracy's fucked. So you can't actually do that. It's bad.
Well, explain to me, sell your vote. Like if I'm going to a voting machine,
mm-hmm.
and that voting machine is based on a blockchain instead of the way it is now, mm-hmm. on a counter.
Mm-hmm.
How? I mean, that means you could sell your vote now.
Well, you can't prove how you voted. That's why you can't sell it. But as soon as you can prove how you voted and have certainty that your vote was recorded properly, you can sell it.
Okay.
So as soon as you can trust that your vote was counted accurately, you can sell that trust, and then democracy's fucked. It's already kind of fucked by ads.
I agree. That does make a lot of sense.
I believe me, I used to be on that position that you were in until I saw a guy explain that, and I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, well, yeah.
So I didn't come up with that. I discovered that, but I don't remember where I discovered it from.
The reason what makes it sellable is that it's provable. That's a good point.
Yeah,
I never thought of that. That once now we can prove it. Wait a minute. Now it's got a worth.
Yeah.
Now it has a price to it. But I want to go back to the where you said about atomic swaps, and now is what is that? What is that called? Shapeshift. Is Shapeshift or an atomic swap, would that be considered an exchange?
Well, all Shapeshift is an exchange. There's no difference. It's just an exchange that doesn't care who you are. So
but it works different than an exchange on, like, for example, Bittrex. It works completely different.
not really. No. So on Bittrex, when you log in, there's a thing that you exchange for another thing. And then there's a whole bunch of prices. But the only price that matters if you want to do a market order is the price at the very top, the bid and the ask.
Correct.
So Shapeshift is exactly that, except there's only one bid and ask, and it's theirs. And there's no rest of the order book. So
do they work as a market maker?
Not really. No. I mean, they could behind the scenes, but there'd be no benefit for them to be doing it. Like they don't have enough economic mass to... It's not required. They just take whatever deal they can get from an exchange and they add a markup to it and they pass that on to you. Just like every other reseller.
The reason why I thought it was different than Bittrex, because Bittrex, you're right, there is the top prices, but it might not get filled completely.
Sure, well, you just do a market order. It always fills. It'll eat the whole order book. You can take the whole order book and eat it with a single market order. You'll just get a progressively shittier deal as you eat into the book.
That's dangerous, though. Market orders can be dangerous, especially in
so just place a limit order. I mean, just use limit orders. Or stop buying shitcoins, up to you. It's your choice, your call.
I always have a Bitcoin in Bittrex to mess around with, just more of a hobby than it is to, just to test my skills. Okay, but you're right. Regarding some corporations would not like it, and some would. Like, for example, Netflix could start selling to Africa.
Netflix could sell to Africa now. That's not the reason. Netflix only doesn't sell to certain jurisdictions because they have to suck off the people that create the content. And the people that create the content have already signed agreements with people in Africa. And the people in Africa are like, hey, you're screwing us over on the agreements you signed. We paid to get those distribution rights. You can't just screw us out of our distribution rights and sell around us by using the internet. So Netflix's problems with content distribution into other countries has nothing to do with Netflix at all, but has to do with the legal rights that have already been pre-assigned for movies that existed long before this internet bullshit did.
So it's not the banking problem?
Nope.
On these third world countries?
Nope.
That's the problem?
Nope. And it doesn't matter anyway, because those third world countries don't have any money to spend. So even if you broke your ass to have a fully full African Netflix, they're poor. So they ain't going to give you any money anyway. So you're not even going to make your money back on the integration.
It's funny you said that. I just went on a 2-month vacation to Dubai and Lebanon and Jordan. And you're right. They barely have enough money to eat. To pay for movies. I gotta agree with that 100%. Dubai, on the other hand, a little different, but the employees are getting paid barely better than.
They're lucky if they get to keep their passports.
You know what? If the minute they're fired, all credit cards are closed, their visas revoked. It's amazing. Everything is like all hell. They have 24 hours either to get another job or leave.
Yep. It's funny, in those countries, if you go into debt, you go to jail. They have debtors' prisons. So people that have a business there and they fuck up, they flee quickly and leave everything behind because they don't want to go to prison. It's an interesting system they have over there. Yeah,
it's very pro. I actually went there to look for a business. I'm a businessman. I own multiple companies, and I wanted to expand there. And so you have to give a citizen of the Emirates 51% of your company, and you have to give him, he has to have the top position, and he has to have the top pay at that position.
They can fuck themselves.
Oh yeah,
that's
I was like, what?
Fuck you guys.
I was like, yeah, let me just enjoy this vacation and I'm out. Yeah, ridiculous.
Keep it.
Ridiculous.
Remain a third world country. Have fun. Bye.
Yeah. You wrote a book. And I haven't read it completely.
It's a really big outline.
Huh?
It's just a really big outline. It's 250,000 words of outline. It's not really a book. Parts of it kind of look like a book.
Well, I mean, it's still considered a book to me.